Good evening, Palm Bay. Good evening, Brevard County in general. Welcome to another edition of Palm Bay Live. And today I have the pleasure of interviewing Vinnie Taranto Jr. Hopefully, I pronounced your name correctly, sir.
You
Welcome,
got it.
welcome to the platform. And he is running for County Commissioner District 5. Am I
Yes,
correct?
sir. Yes,
All right.
District V, which is a
District
Roman
V.
numeral for five, but it's V for Vinny. So yes, Kevin. Yeah, District 5. Yes, sir.
Okay, so those who are in District 5, this is your time to shine. You're gonna need to share this video across the different media platforms. Share it to your friends, your families, your neighbors, your co-workers, whoever needs to hear this message. If you have not voted yet, and vote is started this week, and if you have not voted yet, this is your opportunity to hear from Vinny. And this is a rescheduled interview because I had a medical emergency a couple weeks ago, and unfortunately, I couldn't do the interview. So I offered him the opportunity to do it today to get the word out. So, Vinny, welcome to the platform. And here is your opportunity to tell us about yourself and why you're running for this seat. And we're going to be here for about an hour, and we are taking questions. There's a lot of things going on in Brevard politics in the county, and so this is your opportunity to voice your concerns. And Palm Bay residents, even though he may not be representing you directly, he is going to be sitting on the dais. So in fact, he's going to be voting on things that affect you or impact you and your neighbors and your colleagues that work in Palm Bay. So you may ask him questions if he do get to the dais and how he would represent us and the entirety of Brevard County on a whole. And so, Vinny, I'm going to give you an opportunity to tell us about yourself. Give you about 2 minutes to do that. So go ahead. I'm going to remove myself from the screen. Introduce yourself to the public.
All right. Hi, public. My name is Vinnie Taranto Jr., and I am running to be your District 5 County Commissioner. I was born and raised here. I grew up in unincorporated Indialantic. Went to school here, public school growing up, and then went to private school for high school. Uh, really had a wonderful childhood here. Back in the 80s. And I know 80s. I know. You're like, how's his skin so shiny for somebody so old? No, but it was so great growing up here. So safe, small town. The only thing is, well, as a high school a student and a teenager, there really wasn't much to do here. And so most of us were like, we can't wait to get out of here. So graduated high school and then went off to the University of Florida, where I got a degree in TV and radio production. I worked for the university running an IT department, and just had a great time in Gainesville, learning about the community and again, growing as a person and as a leader. And then in 2008, when the market crashed, our family business, which I am a partner with my father. That's a whole other thing, Kevin, we can talk about working with family, but moved back here to help him with the family business, which is owning and operating retirement communities. And once I came back, man, I just realized how much I love this community. And so I dove in and worked on all sorts of issues, from affordable housing to childhood hunger to mental health, to the lagoon. So just a whole bunch of things, and really got involved and met some really great people. And they always had issues that they talked about from their elected officials. And so when this seat became available because the previous commissioner was term limited, I said, all right, I'll throw my hat in the ring and see where that goes, because I love my community. I know the people in it. They are amazing. I would be so grateful and humbled to represent them and just to work to make this county a better place that really understands its residents.
Okay, great, sir. Thank you for making that introduction and seem to have a well versed background. So let's jump into the line of questionings. Uh, so, community, I need your help because I need these numbers to increase. I know there are a lot of you watching me on YouTube right now, but Facebook platform, please, please, please hit the like button, hit the share button. Let's get the word out. Vinny is here and he's ready to answer your questions. So he's going to be looking to take over that seat in District 5 on the county commission. And there's a lot of activities that's going on in the county commission today. And so I know you have some questions for him. And so Brevard County is growing fast, Vinny, very, very fast. And a lot of residents are worried that the growth isn't being managed in a sustainable way. So, as county commissioner, what do you think the top infrastructure project should be, and what would you prioritize as you take over that seat?
Great question, Kevin. One of the things that I've been honored to do, and it really is one of the best government experiences I've had, is I was appointed to and have served on the half-cent sales tax Citizens Oversight Committee for the past 8 years, including the honor of being chair 3 of those years. And that project really has done so much good for the lagoon and for the community. We've completed 100 projects. We've spent or have contracted $316 million. The water is undeniably clearer. And that was the goal. The goal was to stop the bad fish kills, stop the bad algal blooms, allow the sun to get to the bottom of the water of the lagoon so that we can get seagrass growth back. And so that's happening. It's happening more common in the north. And one of the reasons they're thinking, again, science changes, is that it has to do with the inundation of fresh water. And so as we develop, the thought was always, okay, let's take our stormwater. When it rains, we don't want our neighborhoods to flood. So let's shoot that stormwater right into the lagoon as quick as we can. The problem with that is once you shoot enough clean water into the lagoon at once, that lowering salinity can have negative impacts. And so in the northern part of the lagoon, it's not as, there aren't as many stormwater systems. And so there, the grass is flourishing, acres and acres, almost like football fields. But in the southern end, we're still struggling. And so we've got to find ways in neighborhoods and areas where there isn't an adverse effect to slow that water down and allow the natural environment to work through that water and add some salinity and treat it properly. And so that's why one of my favorite sayings, or one of the things that there's a few of these like mind swaps that we just need to do, because words that we hear just aren't accurate. Like, the phrase, don't catch a cold. And, if it's cold out, people would think that's how you catch a cold. Well, there's a phrase, Kevin, that says, don't drain the swamp, or not. Or sorry, it says drain the swamp. We want to drain the swamp. Well, in actuality, we don't want to drain the swamps and the wetlands. That they're doing their job. They're cleaning the water. And so one of my platforms is environmental synergy, and it's allowing nature and the natural environment to help us clean water, treat water, slow it down, so that we don't have to come through and spend more money on baffle boxes or stormwater treatment trains, so that we can treat it after we catch it and then bring it to the lagoon. So that's one of the big things, is that the lagoon half-cent sales tax will be up for renewal in 2 years. I think we need to continue it for another 10. 40% of it has been paid by tourist dollars. That's huge. That's almost half of it has been paid by people that don't live here. And so I think we need to continue that for another 10 years. But let's go ahead and let's broaden the scope a little longer. We've done a great job at lowering the excess nitrogen and phosphorus that feed algal blooms. We've done a great job on that. Now I think we need to expand it a little more and continue to work on that lagoon to bring it back to like this in my picture, in my virtual background. So this is actually one of my favorite paintings. The Florida House of Representatives had an artist named Christopher Still do 10 of these, and they hung around the House of Representatives. They represented all different areas of Florida. And this was the one that represented our area, and I love it. And it just reminds me there's actually 36 hidden things in here, little like Easter eggs. And I just love it. And it just reminds me of the responsibility that we have to the kids that are over here, to the lagoon, and of course to the little raccoon over there as well.
Okay, Vinny. Let's talk about some hot button issues, if you don't mind. Today we watched the unraveling of what happened in the county commission meeting with the Lower Wilson Park project. Let's talk about that for a second. What do you think? What did you make of that? I mean, if you were sitting on the dais, would you also delay that vote, or would you go through with it? How would you proceed if you were on that dais?
Oh
And
man.
give the residents some history too, because some may not know what's going on there.
For sure, for sure. Yeah. And it's interesting because there is the what of it. And the what is that a hotel, the Westin Hotel, wanted to have they had drawn up a contract, and they wanted the county commission to look at the contract. So that's the what. But then there's the how. And the how really has to do with how they proceeded. And I'm going to start with the how because I'm a big process guy, and I believe the what, there may be disagreement, and it may be easy to disagree on the what, but the how is usually a great place to start to get consensus. And so here you have a hotel in Cocoa Beach, or one that's being built. And I would think that if they wanted to have exclusive access, or even some access to the park, my thinking is, well, have a community meeting. Get the people together, get the city of Cocoa Beach. Now, it is a county park. It is a county park, but it's in the middle of Cocoa Beach. So I would think the how would be, let's get some resident involvement, engagement. Let's bring it to them and see what type of questions they have, see what type of compromise we can get, because they want to use space. And what I'm thinking, because I'm thinking about this community. And again, growing up here, there weren't the cultural arts options. There weren't even options. And so I'm thinking of positives that could happen for the community. And so, Kevin, I don't know how big of a Vanilla Ice fan you are. I think I heard you're a big Vanilla Ice fan, just like me. But Vanilla Ice actually came to Lori Wilson Park, I believe, in Cocoa Beach, and had a
When was
concert.
that?
I
Yeah.
think it was like 2 years ago, 3 years ago. It was on like the 25th anniversary of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, because they had the turtles out there,
Okay.
and everybody
Okay.
was like dancing and screaming, "Go white boy, go white boy, go!" And it was interesting. It was interesting concert. But the point is that if the hotel wanted to bring a concert to the area, and they used part of the park, and the residents could come for free and listen to it, that to me is a benefit. If there's a convention that wanted to come to the park or to the hotel, and they wanted to use part of the park, and it's a cool convention, like a Comic-Con or something big, like that would be something, an option for our community residents. But and this is the big but, the residents there, they don't want it. They don't like it. And they brought up so many good points about the congestion and the parking and the use. The hotel had asked for exclusive use of the entire thing. I don't know about you, but my one of my comments to the county commissioners was, on any given Tuesday of any month, I think a person should be able to go to their beach park and go to the beach. So I think there were definitely a lack of working with the community, a lack of compromise, and the how to me just seemed like it really wasn't done in a good way to represent and be a good neighbor.
Yeah.
So what I
Vinny,
was thinking though. Oh, please, Kevin. Sorry.
yeah. Yeah, no problem. Sorry to cut you off, but one of the things I expressed to you is I'm like baffled as to why Cocoa Beach didn't pursue taking over that park, because I understand the county commissioner commission had pretty much said, "Hey, here, here it is. Take, you know, we'll give it to you. You don't have to give us any money. Just take it over." And they didn't opt to do that. So I was kind of baffled by that. But then you expressed to me probably the upkeep was one of the reasons why they didn't go down that road. But yeah, for the residents of Palm Bay and beyond who are not sure what we're talking about, Laura Wilson Park is in Cocoa Beach. Western Hotel is proposing building a $420 million hotel and convention
Oh, they're not
center.
proposing, they're building it. Yeah,
They're
it'll be
building it.
there.
They're building
Yeah.
it, and so they're bringing their A game, and so this is going to be a huge, huge undertaking, and so it's scheduled to be completed sometime in 2027, and so that's what we're looking at right now. But the thing is, they want to take over the park that they're going to be adjacent to, and they pretty much want to say residents for some point in the year you really can't trample on, in this park during this time period because we are going to have exclusive rights and but the residents say nope, that can't work. We need our park. So this is where we're at. So we're at a stalemate, but hopefully they'll go back to the drawing board and get a handle on how to proceed to meet the residents demands. So yeah, anything else you want to opine on that, Vinny, before I move on?
No, I was just gonna say, as a resident of Indialantic, I understand how a small town can struggle to have upkeep of a beach where you have a lot of out of town tourists that come in. And so Indialantic, our beach is at the end of 192. Like that's a major road that goes through the state. And so it's hard to put the burden on residents for management of a beach that a lot of tourists come in. But in Indialantic, we do have an enterprise fund, so the parking is paid, and that parking pays for the upkeep. So that's one of the ways that we do it. But leadership and governance is hard, and decisions are hard. But you really need to make sure that you've got your pulse on the community, and you're hearing exactly what
What
people feel and say, and take that time to get to know them. So the last thing, one of the things I took from this is I really think we ought to be able to use technology. I'm an IT guy like this to reach more of our citizens who may not be able to drive, who may not be able to show up at a meeting at 9 on a Tuesday in
Yeah,
Vieira. And so I'd love to be able to have virtual options like this if I'm elected, where I can say, okay, everybody, here's the agenda, in a week. What are your feelings? These are my initial feelings. And I'm not afraid to be wrong. I'm afraid to be ineffective.
a
That's a
virtual
fear
town
I
hall.
have, is
Virtual town.
ineffective. But I'm
Yeah.
not afraid to be wrong. And I
Mhm.
think we ought to use technology more to remove barriers. To me, I really struggle when I see a barrier in front of me that I think can easily be overcome.
Sounds like a plan, Vinny. All right. The county's budget has seen significant increases with a portion going towards road maintenance and upgrades. What criteria would you use to prioritize which roads get repaired or expand first, especially in high traffic areas? And how would you ensure that these projects are completed in a timely and cost effective way?
Woo! Going right at it, right
Yes, sir.
there.
Yes, sir.
Roads, right?
Yes, sir.
Roads like Minton and Malabar, and people sitting there for hours and hours, in traffic. And other areas too, 192, West Melbourne, Melbourne. Here's the thing, and this is something, I don't know, man. I was so intrigued in 2016 when the new county commission was seated, because they did some really interesting things. They removed a grants to nonprofits, and I was on a board for a nonprofit, and there was a process where a nonprofit could apply, and if they met some certain rubric, they would get some funds. And I was on the board of a nonprofit, and our funding, 25 grand a year, was on the chopping block. And the reason was because of the roads. We had such a backlog of roads that had just not been taken care of. And so one of the things with roads is, if you can catch them before they go to disrepair, you can save money. It's much cheaper to catch a road before it goes in disrepair and work it than once it goes in disrepair, You've got to tear up and do the whole thing. So the county actually has done way better. I think it was like 78% was on the county manager's report about the roads that we have now in the county that are good. I think they're great to good or something like that, which is a huge improvement. I mean, they've done a good job at maintaining the roads. What we've got to do is we've got to work county-wide to figure out where is our growth going to be. And so this is one of the things you talked about, man, that really lit my fire is Sunterra development out there on Babcock by Grant, where the county approved by Deer Run, the county approved an 8 times density increase. 8 times. Like that's huge. And
Very.
not only did they increase it 8 times on a 2-lane Babcock, that Babcock has been worked on for so many years. I've been down to Fellsmere. I do a lot of work down there with the elementary school, and driving down there, man, my car would be all over the place bouncing. But so the commission approved an 8-time density increase, and it was a 4-time RU4 future land use. And what that does, I talked to the planning and zoning director, that has future repercussions for now adjacent properties, because they can say, well, this one's R4, so why can't I be? So, the impact fees are low. They need to be raised so that developers actually end up paying for more of the roads. And I know there are traffic studies, but the problem is you can't just look at today. You can't, because if properties are developed together, or you've got to figure out, okay, well, once these are done, once 3,200 people live here, how are people going to get around? Yeah. Otherwise, you might have another compound. It's government setting up businesses and people to fail. And I can't do that, man. I can't do that.
Was one of my questions that I had prepared for you. So you pretty much answered my question in advance. But that is like almost like the county commissioners didn't even give any foresight as to the impact it's going to have on Palm Bay as a whole, because we're literally right there at the cups. So it's like, what were you thinking? That the traffic, the impact that is going to have on Babcock is going to be a nightmare, and it's crazy. But
well, and real quick on that, they felt there's a belief that used to be you can build your way out of a problem, right? Get more tax dollars, get more tax basis, and you'll build it in. And then the problems that you have from that, you can use the next development to fix those. And it just ends up being not sustainable. And it just ends up
the residents
being
already crying
That's it.
because of the traffic nightmare that we're facing over by Heritage High School. And now this is like, wow, this is just going to be another added blow. But here we are. You answered that question, so I'm just going to move. We have a question from the community, so let's go ahead and take this one. Hey, Vinny, do you think the Brevard County flood plans need updated, and can the existing infrastructure handle the weather we have right now? Your thoughts on that, Vinny?
So that's a great question, Ron. And so this is one of the things. And I'm sorry, Kevin, I love stories because they just guide me, my guidance and where I go. The city of Palm Bay had a request to increase density to a commercial property on the lagoon. And the developers got up and they said, we love the lagoon. We've been developing here for 30 years and nobody loves the lagoon more than us. And I believe them. I believe they love the lagoon. The problem is that they've been following guidelines that are inadequate. They're antique. And so this is one of the things that the state and FDP did right. In 18 months, I think by now it's 16 months, they will enact stricter water retention rules, stormwater rules for areas around imperiled water bodies. That's the lagoon. So in 16 months from now, properties are going to have to hold more water. And I think that's great. The problem is I wish it would have come sooner because, again, the government's job is to help people that care. I'm sure these builders care about the lagoon. They live here. They've been here for 30 years. So we've got to work with them and give them guidance that is going to help them not only succeed. I want them to succeed. They've got a business. They have to put food on their table. But I want to make sure that we give them guidance that's going to help the lagoon so that they can do both. And so in 16 months, again, FDEP and St. John's is increasing the amount of water that properties have to hold. This is the crutch, is that anybody who gets a permit in before that doesn't have to do it. And so what I want to do is I want to start pushing that information out now and maybe even prioritize some of those developments that'll say, yeah, we'll go ahead and do that. Or yes, we'll go ahead and go above that. Keith Winston at the Brevard Zoo once talked about market forces helping drive change, right? You can have the government come in and say, oh, you've got to do it this way. You've got to do it this way. But if it ends up being cheaper or providing you a financial benefit, then it's not just the government saying it. It's the best way to do it. And so when it comes to building, time is money. And so if we can maybe prioritize projects that are going to be amazing for the environment, hold stormwater, low impact development, keep wetlands like Babcock Ranch, really understand what's going on, then maybe we can look at saying, okay, you've prioritized the lagoon, you've prioritized the environment, you've prioritized the roads. Let's go ahead and let's see if we can move you up and get your project approved quicker.
Let's talk about another hot button issue. Right now, the residents are voting, and voting's on the way. And from what I understand, the lines at the for early voting is long.
So
And
Kevin, I got an
I'm
update.
trying to figure out when I'm going to go. I'm probably going to wait until the weekend. But
So 1,000 people voted in District 5 yesterday.
wow,
Yesterday, the
yeah,
first day of
wow,
early voting.
that's great. Now,
Yeah.
the hot button question I have for you is that um, there's a charter amendment that has to do with the county commissioners potentially getting a raise. Potentially, Vinny, $40,000 raise. Right now, their salary is about $60,000 a year. And by the $40,000 raise, they would end up at about $102,000 per year. Do they deserve it?
Well, I'm not going to pass a deserve it on people, but what I will say is my opinion is no. The reason that this was put forth, the reason it was said it was put forth, is because certain commissioners wanted to make this a living wage full time job. I get it, I get it, but the thing is $60,000 a year to do this job. To me, I mean, there are a lot of people that live on 40,000, 50,000, and I know it's hard. I get it, but this job is about service, and I want to allow anybody. That's the part of our government. That's the part of our system. Is anybody can hold any position, and I really believe in that. But jumping more than like 60%. Jumping 60% of your salary in 1 year, I just think it's too much. And I would encourage people of all walks of life to run, but campaigning is expensive. And unfortunately, I just don't think that this $100,000 is a good idea. So I would say unequivocally, please vote no on that. I don't think that the position. I don't think the position deserves it.
Yeah, one of the things that I've heard is that, and the rationale behind it was that is to bring it our county in alignment with the rest of the counties throughout Florida because we're the lowest paying out to the county commissioners. We're the lowest. I mean, when you compare to Broward County, they're getting substantial amount of money, and those other counties around us, they're getting way more than us are getting. And I get it that they've been stagnant for a while, but like you said, maybe incremental raises would probably be the best approach as to about uh, a huge, let's go ahead and just fill this void right now. Let's give you a 70% raise. And I get that. And I can't tell folks how to vote for that because that's not what my platform does. But use your
I just feel there's something to sacrifice, Kevin. There really is. Like I'm a servant. I serve the community. And so you may not see me driving down around in a BMW or a Lexus because I can't afford it. That's okay. I want to serve. And there are
Right.
people that are suffering in this community that don't even have a roof over their head. I don't know how I can be like, yeah, give me a raise when there are people that are experiencing homelessness that now, which HB 1365 are now criminals. It's now illegal, to sleep and to
Okay,
find
so
a place to
that's
sleep.
another question of mine. So now
Sorry,
you're right
Kevin.
there. Let's talk about it. Okay. So
Sorry.
this proposed law is going to pretty much, for those who are not aware, is going to pretty much put us in a peril because or come January, I believe it is, they're going to begin enforcing it. I'm not sure.
October
I'm
1st.
not
Kevin, October
October
1st.
1st, but I think
It's
it's
live now.
January.
It's live now.
It's live now, but there's
Yes,
something
sir.
happens in January, right? I think they actually start
It,
enforcement or something
So
like that.
there is a case. I believe that somebody is sued over this, but I don't think that there has been
Already.
a stay or anything. But it was October 1st is when it was
Wow.
going into effect.
I haven't seen. Did maybe I missed it? Did the county do any workshop on this yet? I don't
No,
believe they did.
no, and I think with the hurricanes, which is another bad thing, if somebody loses their home for a hurricane and now they're sleeping in their car, that could be
Yeah.
considered public. But I think with the hurricanes that hit, I think the state was a little bit in disheveled, trying to figure out what's going on. But it was supposed to go live October 1st.
Yikes. Okay. So we're here. Okay. So this law is going to impact a lot of communities like Palm Bay and beyond. And so now we're in a peril because there's, from what I understand, any resident can make a complaint if they see homeless person walking around on the street, and that complaint is valid based on the new laws. And so they would have to make remedy to correct whatever that complaint is. So that's where we're at. Hopefully, the cities and Brevard County can get together and try to find a way to quickly find a way to fix this issue before it becomes a problem for us, because a lot of cities can start getting lawsuits along the way from residents, from actual residents who may not like what they're seeing. Okay.
Well, and
Uh,
also, how do you throw these people in the jail when our jail is already so
yeah.
full? In the
I
budget
know in
was
Brevard County, the sheriff down there, based on what I've, because today the Broward County Commission had a workshop on it, and the sheriff department, I believe, they made a statement, a blanket statement that they're not going to enforce it.
correct. They
Um,
made an exception. Yes.
yeah. So and so hopefully, I'm not sure. I've not heard from our sheriff yet if they're going to do the same. But we'll see. Okay. Uh, go ahead. Did you
Oh, I
have
was just
something?
gonna say, so we have a majority of the county commission that it will be elected new, and the previous commissioners, the two that will still be there, showed interest in having workshops as soon as possible because they know there are a lot of things that with a majority new, a majority of the commission will be new,
Yeah.
and so there
Yeah.
there are the two remaining commissioners do want to have workshops so that we can get moving on these issues.
I hope so, because I know I have fielded a lot of questions via email from the residents asking me to put this as a potential question to you and the others. All right, let's take one more question, and then I still have some more questions here for you. Hello again, Vinny. What would you be in favor of improving the public transit system here in Brevard County? A lot of bus stops have no benches or even shelters from the rain and sun.
Yeah, no, so I'm not sure it comes through this live video, but I'm very handsome. No, I'm joking. I have a I am handsome, but I have a physical disability. And so I do drive a car now, but I have transportation issues. It takes 8 months to adapt a vehicle if something happens to my vehicle. And so I understand public transportation and I understand transportation issues. And so one of the things that I do want to work to improve in our county is our public transportation. When I drive by and I see a bus stop sign with no bench and no cover, I don't know. Like I just think about the residents that are using it or
Mhm.
that could or would use it. And it just doesn't seem like we're doing the best job that we can. There's also lots of other small groups, and this is one of the things I love about Brevard. Brevard is full of problem solvers, right? Like we launched people to the moon. Behind me, I got this little space shuttle there. Like we solve problems, and so there are nonprofits that are working on transportation alternatives. I know Javier Molinares in the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce was looking at having after hour bus service. And so, what I would like to do is work together, get together with these other nonprofits that are looking to do this and provide some leadership to bring this countywide. And let's look to combine efforts. Unfortunately, the nonprofit industry in this county, and a lot of big companies too, can be very siloed where they don't talk or they don't necessarily work. And I get it. They're swamped. They're busy. They're nonprofits. They're having volunteers from people that are working other jobs. So what I'd like to do, and I see my role is providing that leadership to bring people together that are working on this issue and find a solution. So yes, I am very much in favor of looking at increasing our public transportation routes as well as our services. And I think it takes a holistic approach, and it's one that I'm very interested in looking at. I've talked to Space Coast Transportation Authority and trying to figure out ways that we can increase our funding for roads so that we can do the roads better. And I think also looking at that is part of the public transportation. Uh, I'm very interested, and we'll move forward to improve that.
Awesome. Thank you, Vinny. All right, so let's move it right along, Vinny. Let's talk about the economic development. Uh, is key to the future of Brevard County. And so, how would you promote new business opportunities in the county while ensuring that growth benefits both urban and areas like Palm Bay, which we know Palm Bay is the largest city in the county, and more rural parts of the county as well?
Yeah. No, great question. And again, I really look at the county holistically. I will focus on District 5, and that is my focus. And within District 5, like there are cities have barriers and boundaries, right? But there's no physical barrier or boundary. So when I'm talking about roads or when I'm talking about businesses or economic districts, we need to get together and try to work a plan up that will benefit all. And so we have done in the past a good job of bringing aerospace and tech jobs to our county. And in District 5, is the Melbourne Airport, and they are just on going on gangbusters as far as the new buildings, Northrop Grumman, and Lockheed Martin, Embraer, and then you've got Leonardo DRS. A lot of manufacturing, a lot of tech, a lot of aerospace. Of course, L3 Harris. I can't forget them. So we have lots that are coming. What I would like to do is kind of look and see at the areas that we don't have a lot of. So I have a friend whose husband was in an accident, and he broke his neck in a paraglider accident, and there just aren't medical resources for him here. And I hear all the time about people having to drive to Orlando or Jacksonville or Miami. So that's a business that I would love to bring here to increase here. Mental health, I think that's a big part of so many issues in our community. And so I want to increase our resources here. So those are more businesses that I want to bring. The joke in Vieira was that, oh, there's another dentist office opening up here around the corner. And I swear the people in Vieira have the brightest teeth I've ever seen. No, that's a joke, Vieira. I love you though. Everything's good. But I'm a big proponent of making sure that we have a thriving business environment, and not just in one area of District 5, but we've got to have it in multiple areas because, again, transportation. And so I think we need to continue looking to bring in companies and industries and resources for our community that the community wants.
Yes, yes. I'm with you, sir. Okay, affordable housing. has been a big issue in Brevard County. We talk about the homeless population. Okay. This is my pet peeve because when I look at teachers, firefighters, police officers who can afford these apartments at $3,000 a month, rents, it's crazy. On those salaries that they make, there's no way. That's not affordable living. What would you do, especially at the county level, the sheriff departments? These sheriffs don't make that much money, Vinny, as you
I
know.
agree.
Or
Yeah.
the EMTs, right? I think I
And the
watched
firefighters that,
the
their
firefighters.
contract lapsed because
Yeah,
they couldn't get what they deserved.
I had a conversation several months ago over the summer when I was starting these interviews, and we watched a commission meeting where the firefighters was wrestling at the time with getting their increases, and a mother went to the podium at a commission meeting and was pretty much in tears because her daughter works as an EMT and she comes on with these horror stories of what she's seeing, and she's only making $9 an hour. How can that be? So and so it's like, we have to find a bridge. So what would you do, Vinny? What would you propose if you were sitting on the dais?
So great questions, Kevin. And real quick on the firefighter issue, I mentioned previously about the how and the what, right? And so maybe there are people out there that don't feel the firefighters should have an entry level raise. That's one of their big issues. The entry level should be higher. It should be a living wage. Well, that's the what. The how, and Kevin, I don't know if you saw some of the videos. They were having meetings in rooms where there were box fans because the room was so hot. Like, I don't know if the air conditioning wasn't working, but that's like an old negotiation tactic, right? Like, we're going to sweat them out. We're going to make the negotiations be uncomfortable. And then the body posture of the person that was supposedly representing the county, you could just read it. They weren't interested. And so that to me, again, is the how. That's something we need to change. That to me is disrespectful. And so that's something that I think everyone can agree with. Let's have honest negotiations. Let's have public negotiations, and let's really see, what the issue is. But to answer your question, economic hardships and economic affordability is one that I have been blessed to understand deeply. Like I had talked to you about, I did a lot of work in Fellsmere Elementary, and there was 1 year there were 10 homeless families who had children at the school. 9 of them were stable, had stable homes, living with friends or relatives. One of them didn't. And so I said, okay, I got this one. Let me see what I can do. Let me see how I can help. And so I grabbed another partner in our community, and man, for 3 months, I struggled to find anything affordable. And so working with realtors, I couldn't find a realtor to even talk to me. And then I found a realtor who had been homeless herself, and she understood. And so we were able to find a home. I co-signed a lease, and prevent 3 kids from being homeless, man. I can't do that. I would not have been able to sleep at night. I would have not been able to get work done knowing that there were 3 children that I knew of that were homeless. And so I was able to help them and work with them for 3 years. There was also another, I was blessed and fortunate. I opened up my door to a homeless gentleman, and he honored me by living here, and seeing the PTSD that comes from that, and just the trying to find a job, and then trying to find health care or health insurance or mental health. Man, such a struggle. It's such a struggle. And so to answer your question, affordable housing and economic hardship and affordability is a big issue of my platform. And so last year, the county approved a charter amendment to create a bucket for affordable housing. So the county has a bucket, but there's no money going in that bucket, and there's no directive on how to put money in that bucket. So what I want to do, and what I'm planning on doing, is finding funds that we can allocate to that bucket. You mentioned Broward County. One of the things they've done is they've taken expired CRA funds and they put them into that bucket. I think they've got about $25 million coming this year, and then it ramps up each year. And so what you can do with that bucket, just like we do with the lagoon, is you can take the money in that bucket and then you can find matching grants. So you can double that money or triple that money and use that money to build affordable housing. So that's one of the things we've got to do is find a source for that, or not find a source, but direct a source. Secondly, in the state of Florida, there's a Sadowski fund. It's a fund where they take money from all real estate closings that goes up to Tallahassee. Well, that money's supposed to come back to the county. And there's a part of it called sale, which is for apartments. And unless you put the proper resources forward, you don't get that money. And by resources forward, I mean applying for it, having a good application, having good data. You lose that money. So you take that money from your community, it goes to Tallahassee, and then it goes to somewhere else in the state. I don't want to do that anymore. I want to say, okay, we need to get better at getting sale grants for our affordable housing apartments in the area. And then we've got to work on some supply. Now, that supply, again, it's got to be smart growth. It's got to be smart growth. But we need to have more supply, which will naturally bring down the cost of rentals. But man, my heart goes out to anybody out there who is experiencing or is close to, becoming homeless. It is tough. It is hard. My heart goes out to you. But not only do my thoughts and prayers, but my actions will go towards helping this cause.
Okay, great, Vinny. This brings me to another line of questioning, questions rather. Let's talk about fiscal responsibility. The county, the general revenue fund, with currently tax rate, has seen a decrease for 11 consecutive years now, set at $2.92 per 1,000 of taxable valuable. With rising costs and increasing demand for services, do you think continuing to lower property tax rates is the best approach? Or would you consider stabilizing or adjusting the rate to better support county services?
So that's a great question. That is a great question, and I think one of the things that I talked about with economic hardships is we've got to get more affordable housing, but what we've also got to be careful of is pricing out people with fixed incomes due to property tax. Again, being born and raised here and then moving back here and seeing people, the same people that had been here, and knowing that there had been people that lived here for 30 or 40 years, they love it here. And then hearing stories of them saying, I'm being forced out. I can't afford the property tax. It's just getting too expensive. That breaks my heart. I love this place. And some of those and those people are good people. They're part of how we got to where we are. I always say I stand on the shoulder of giants, and those are some of the giants. And so I think that's a tough it's a tough question, but my thing is this. Let's get our impact fees up at an adequate level. Let's get our rates for water and sewer, our usage rates, our roads. Let's get our usage rates up to where they should be, because that's something that you pay as you use, not you pay as you live. And that's kind of property taxes. And so I'm all about trying to help the people of District 5 be able to afford to live here. I am about that 100%. So let's get some of these other revenue streams up to where they should be. And then let's see if we need to raise those to be able to provide what the county government should have been providing all these years.
Okay. Uh, just for the residents, just remind them what cities you're going to be representing.
Oh, yes, sir. Oh, this is a good one. It's a hard one, Kevin. It's hard. Okay,
Mhm.
so if you live in Indialantic or you
Mhm.
live in Melbourne Village, I got you. You're my
Mhm.
people. That's District 5. Now, if you are part of Melbourne, part of West Melbourne, and part of Palm Bay, you need to go to my website, vinforthewin.com, and click on the My District link and put in your address. because District 5 is parts of Melbourne, West Melbourne, and Palm Bay. So if you live in those areas, depending on where you live in those areas, you may be in my district, you may be in the best district in the county, or you may be in District 3 or District 4. So it's L-shaped, but if you go to my website, again, that's vinforthewin.com, and click on the My District link, you can put in your address, and it'll smack dab tell you what district you're in.
Okay, Vinny, let's talk about lifeguards. Seem to have a lifeguard issue over the summer. I was watching the narrative played out. And prior to that, several county commission meetings. One particular individual on the dais seemed to be had a go-to approach on how he was going to handle this situation. I'm not calling any names, and you probably know who I'm talking about. Okay, but lifeguard coverage was narrowly approved for several municipality beaches this year, using a combination of county funds and a tourist development tax, given the back and forth over who should pay for it and who should not pay for it. Who do you think should pay for it?
Oh, that's such a great, another great question. See, this is why I want to do this. I love these questions. I love, pondering them because they're deep. And so here, I don't know if you saw today's county commission meeting. They asked for an attorney general at the state level decision on whether it's even legal to use the tourist tax funds to pay to lifeguards.
Right.
So as a council or as a commission member, and as a member of the Indian River Lagoon Oversight Committee, we have an attorney that sits on that committee and on the commission. And so as a member of that commission, I rely on their legal opinion. Well, today they just asked for another legal opinion. So I can tell you I can tell you how I feel about this, but I've got to tell you that there is a legal question that I think now that there may, because one commissioner said this isn't going to change it at all, but we may hear back that this is either legal or not. And so if that's the case, how I feel on it is that I'm going to follow the rules. So I'm going to follow the law. That's the first thing. I think, as I mentioned before, when we talked about county commission salary is an increase of the level that is needed to have lifeguards is a substantial increase for some of those cities. And so that would be a huge tax burden taken on in 1 year, and so talking about pricing residents out, that's huge. And it would come quick. So I am definitely for the county taking the lead in this issue. I think the county, as far as lifeguards go over our beaches where our tourists come in, I think that it's important that they take the leadership in this and that they work with the cities. Again, the use of the funds, that's a tough one because marketing for the tourist dollars, like you want to continue to market so that the tourist dollar fund stays where it's at or grows. Like that's your base. So if you take away from that to pay for something, that might mean next year there isn't tax dollars to pay for it. And then what happens? So I think it needs to be a compromise, between the cities and the county at different levels. And then and then we do it for a year, and then we adjust and we reevaluate. The mayor of Melbourne Beach had an interesting but pretty truthful comment. She said that it's not residents that are drowning, it's tourists. And first off, any death is a tragic incident. We had a 13-year-old get hit on her bike on Aurora Road from an SUV. Terrible situation. And I looked, and there's not a sidewalk or a crosswalk. It's a 2-lane road, 45 mile per hour. There's the only food source is a gas station. And so the county is and has been working on right of way for sidewalks. But I think there should be a sign up. I think there should be a crosswalk. You don't need to finish the right of ways for a crosswalk. But anyways, back to the beaches. A death is a tragic thing, and so I don't want to see anybody die. And I do think that having deaths on the beach will cause less tourists to come here. So my answer would be a compromise between the counties, between the county and the cities for a year, and then let's start working towards a place where everybody feels the solution is adequate. I know the cities are probably good with it because the county is really taking the majority of the burden and helping them out. But let's see if we can find a way for everybody to feel as if the money that they're putting in is making the pot whole.
Okay. Let me ask you one last question before I ask you to give your closing remarks. Let's talk about civility in the chambers. Have you been watching these meetings and you've seen the tension in the meeting sometimes? Let's talk about the harmony that, or the lack of thereof harmony. Um, what are your thoughts on it?
I'll give you my thoughts, and I'm also going to tell you where I come from. Again, on the Citizens Oversight Committee, we have public comment, and I don't know if you remember. I think it was Irma when the county had to open the sewage pipes in Satellite Beach, and thousands of gallons, hundreds of thousands of gallons were emptied into the lagoon. The first public meeting happening that was held after that event was our oversight committee meeting, not a county commission meeting, our oversight committee meeting. And so that meeting was, I think, 6 hours, 5.5 hours, because the community was rightfully upset. And so as a member, I'm sitting there and I'm listening to these comments, and I agree with them. Again, I applied for that job. I am choosing to run for this. If you are angry, you should speak to me. You should. And I should listen. I shouldn't interrupt. I shouldn't ask you, your credentials. I should listen because I serve you. And so on that committee, I've been chairman, like I said, for 3 of the 8 years. And so I've run the clock, I've run the dais, and I have respected and given dignity to every person that comes to speak. I can't do my job unless I know what my residents want. I can't. I'm representing them. I'm serving them. Otherwise, it's just me. So I think civility and trust needs to be returned. When somebody comes for a public comment, that is not an inconvenience. I'm not being inconvenienced because you're telling me my opinion. That's my job. It's my job. But one of the things I will say, and I know we talked about it earlier, is the 3 minutes you're given at a public meeting should be the last resort. It should be. There should be dialogue before, and there should be emails before. There should be hopefully virtual options for communication before, because I don't want to just give you 3 minutes. How much can you get out in 3 minutes? And you may ask a question and need more information from me. So let's work together. Let's bring that civility and let's bring that trust back. I'm in the community. You're going to see me. I'm sorry. If you don't like me, you're going to see me. But if you don't like me, I promise you will if you get to know me. And let's bring civility and trust back. I serve you. I represent you. I need to know what you think and what you want.
Vinny, what's the deal with the applause? I see a certain chairman, an outgoing chairman, doesn't like when the audience applauds at the meeting. What's the deal with that? What's your thoughts on that?
I think it's twofold. First off, when you allow public reaction, applause is great. But on the flip side, you wouldn't want a speaker to get booed, just because, again, that's respect and that's dignity, and give people their ability in America to have their First Amendment, their 3 minutes, and allow them to speak. Second off, if there is enough applause, you are going to extend a meeting, because after every speaker, there's going to be 10 seconds of applause, and you add the 10 seconds up and you add up minutes. Now I get
it should be a compromise. Maybe that you tell them, if you agree with the commenter's remarks, just wave your hand.
So
something
here's
like
the thing, and I've seen it happen. Green and red paddles, man. Green
that.
and red paddles. Like,
Yeah,
right? Like you're with it, hold up a green paddle. You kind of disagree, hold up a red paddle.
there
So
you go.
that doesn't extend it. I feel in letting people have some release, have some reaction, respectful reaction. But also every time there's a meeting, there are staff members that are sitting up there. And so instead of doing their job, they are there at the meeting. So it is a balance between making sure the public is heard. That's the number one. That's not even a balance. That's an absolute. But also allowing your staff to try to get as much work done as they can effectively and efficiently.
Well, audience, it's been a fun night. We have come to the end of another robust interview with Vinny. He is running for District 5, and I'm going to allow him in a second to remind you of why he's running for this office, and that the need for you to get out and vote if you live in his district for him, or if you have a family member or a friend that lives in his district, you can remind them to get out and vote for him if they so choose. So it's totally up to you. I can't tell you who to vote for. I did offer other, invites to other folks, but who is here. And I know a lot of people question me. I am working on one other debate, but it doesn't look like that will
Mm.
happen. And I was hoping to get Mr. Anderson and his counterpart for the House District 33 on the show for debate, but that doesn't look like it's going to happen at the moment. However, we're here. We're wrapping up. We have one last interview next week. I'm going to see um, Paul, if you're watching, I'm gonna see if we can move it up for Thursday night. If you're watching, because that would be good to get you ahead of time, to clear the slate because voting is on the way, and you're the last party that I'm going to be interviewing. So, other than that, Vinny, the floor is yours. Go ahead and do your closing remarks and let the folks know why you're running for this office.
Kevin, thank you so much. It has been a pleasure and honor to be able to communicate to my community, a community I love, a community I know, a community I live in, a community I care for, and a community that I'm choosing to serve if you'll have me for 1,460 days. That's 4 years. And so I want to do this job the best that I can. I want to give you my time, my talent, my treasure. I know you. I understand your concerns. And leadership is hard. It is. But I've had many successes along the way. I have the experience, I have the knowledge, and I have the energy. And so let's go. Let's move forward. Again, as I said, this painting behind me is called A New Age. And it kind of feels like with this new commission coming in, a majority of the commission coming in, it almost feels like a new age. So let's put the right people on the commission, the people that care for the community, the people who understand the community, the people that listen to the community. And so I'm not going to tell you to vote for me either. I'm going to tell you to go to vinforthewin.com. Go to my website. Check me out. Look at my platform. Look at my priorities. Look at my pictures. There's even a picture of me there when I was 6. There's a picture of me there doing some Karate Kid stuff. Because I think it's important to know the person that you're putting up there and know why they make decisions. Again, there's the what and there's the how. And I am interested in talking about the what, but I'm certain that we can agree on the how. So here we go, vinforthewin.com, because remember, Brevard wins with Vin. That's my little saying, Kevin. You like it? Brevard wins
I love
with.
it. I love it. I love it. I love it. All right. Good luck to you, Vinny.
Thank you.
Good luck to you. I'll be watching and I'll be keeping in touch with you as you move forward in this process. Best wishes to you. Best wishes to the other candidates who are running for office. Voting is on the way. I didn't see the tally for today, how many people show up to the polls yet. I'll take a peek at it before I go to bed, but um, go out and vote, Brevard. That's all I can tell you. Go out and vote your hearts out. I don't know who you're going to vote for, and I don't care to know who you want to vote for, but just vote. Yeah, it is your right. I mean, I served as in the military to make sure you're all for that right, and there's others out there who serve to make sure you have that right. So do it. Just do it. Vote your life out, and and encourage your loved ones to vote as well. All right, so thank you so much for joining me tonight, and again, look forward for an update for the next live interview here shortly, the last one with a Palm Bay City Councilman candidate, and we'll take it from there. Talk to you soon. Have a good night, Palm Bay.
Good night, everybody.